I've been feeling vibes all day, I've been feeling vibes all night. Let me breathe and meditate. Elevate, is that alright? It's energy. Vibes, 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 energy. Vibes, 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 energy. Vibes, 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 energy.
Hey, what's going on, good people? It's your girl T Hardaway.
And it's Michael Bahsil.
Yeah, and we are the Did It for the Hood podcast.
Indeed.
And you know what it is. We back again, giving you another illustrious guest as we do every week.
Okay.
This particular individual is in an area that I'm not 100% familiar with, so I'm going to do a lot more listening than talking. She works in the biotechnology industry. She's the founder of both Lexus Ply Bio and Heliplex. I hope I said that right. If not, she's going to correct me. One of the most successful Black-owned commercial biotechnology companies. Y'all give it up for Dr. Tia Lyles-Williams. How you doing?
Good morning, everybody. And yes, you definitely chopped up.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I apologize.
It is Lucas Pie Bio and Heliplex. And the reason why that name is special is because it's named after the maiden names of both my maternal and paternal grandmothers.
Oh, wow.
So, just like the white boys, Pfizer, Merck is all named after white men. So
all
right.
Well, that's my bad. My bad. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, let's roll.
For sure. So tell us your story.
Background, I've been working in biotech, biopharma for a little over 22 years now. I started actually at the ripe age of 16. Right when I got to Howard, I was kind of thrown into it. Did an internship at the Howard University Cancer Center, and then went on and did an internship at NIH, and then an internship that turned into a job at Walter Reed Army Institute of Research, the naval base in Silver Spring. And so that's kind of how I got my start. And from there, I entered my first biotech company in human genome sciences in Rockville. And then from there, I went on to Amgen in Thousand Oaks, California, right outside of LA. And then I went to Baxter Biosciences, literally across the street from Amgen in the same area. And then I hopped over when I started getting into management and leading teams, officially with my title. I've always done that, but you know how I go. At Avid Bioservices out in Tustin, California. So that's right, a couple of X's down from Disneyland in LA. And then I shot back to the East Coast and worked at Lonza in New Hampshire for a year. Yes, I said New Hampshire. And then I left and I had, at the time, had followed my girlfriend, moved to Jersey, and was working in Philly. And that was the last company I was at Jazz Pharmaceuticals here in Philadelphia before I finally took the plunge to do my stuff full time. Oh, and I have a bachelor's in biology, a master's in entertainment business from Full Sail University. Y'all can ask about that. And then I have a master's in regulatory science from University of Southern California, and an honorary doctorate from Thomas Jefferson University, the Sidney Kimmel Medical School here in Philadelphia.
So many questions, Mike.
I know.
Question. All right, so let me back up because you have extensive experience. How did you even decide that's what you wanted to be?
Y'all gonna laugh. So, of course, I was on the pre-med track, and I had an advisor, Dr. Buckle Cole. Shout out, may she rest in peace. She's been gone for a number of years. But she told me when I was at Howard, she was like, you would be a great doctor, but you want to do too much business. So if you're going to be a time I want to be a surgical oncologist, so that's a surgical cancer doctor. And she was like, you're going to be in demand, so you're not going to have time to do all this business. She was like, you may need to think about switching your major to business and, whatever you want to do. I was, Black folks, we don't listen. We keep doing what we want to do. But what happened was I end up, I was training, trying to get my way into med school, trying to take the MCAT, and it was just so many signs. So I think it was the second time I took the MCAT, the damn HVAC center caught on fire. And there was a number of us from Howard that had already graduated my year in 2005 and was there to take this test that summer or whatever that year was. And to this day, I think only maybe two of us in that cohort that was from Howard that took that test and they became doctors. Everybody else became some type of scientist or health administrative or something like that. And then my second sign was I was training with the Virginia Fire Department. Virginia has one of the most elite fire departments down in Richmond. And I was going to go through the EMT route, become a paramedic and do it that route. And I got diagnosed with a chronic condition. And so the doctor told me some things. I was like, you know what? I don't think this go work out. And I wasn't even sad about it. I was more like, okay, well, let me figure out what I'm about to do to stay in this game of medicine and life science and healthcare. And so at the time while I was training to be an EMT, I was working at Human Genome, actually on the manufacturing floor making drugs. And I had just had the typical attitude, you know, coming from working benchtop research with a white coat. I went to Howard. You know, now I get over here, even though it was more money in the commercial space or in commercial life sciences doing that type of work. I had to do the you know, typical entry level shit that I thought I was, entry level stuff that I thought I was above. And so, you know, you had to be a gopher and all this stuff to go get different parts, putting tanks together, different things like that. But I fell in love with it because it was a mix. It was a mix of engineering. It was a mix of medicine. It was a mix of life sciences. We were making medicine. All your sciences included physics, chemistry, biology, the whole nine. So I had a great mentor by the name of Sandra Brown, who is still at Human Genome to this day. At the time, she's one of the first African-American women to be a supervisor when I was there, when I was coming up. And she still mentors. We still talk today. It's like one of my favorite aunties. So definitely was some interest there, but definitely was some influence from somebody that was already in it that kind of took me under their wing.
Okay, super dope. So which company did you found first?
I actually founded my financial holding company first, Goffman Bogart, on purpose, legally. And then I founded Lucas Pop Bio, and this is all in the same year, 2018. And then Heliplex didn't come along, I think, until I didn't find it officially until 2020. I think is when I went on and registered. It might have been 2021 that I went on and registered. But the way my company is set up is, did a lot of learning. Of course, I got the degree of business at Full Sail, so it didn't matter that it was entertainment business, it's still business, and it gave me a lot of knowledge. And what I learned was I didn't want to own the equity in my companies myself. So I did a financial holding company to own majority ownership in each one of my companies. So Goffman Bogart is pretty much me, and I'm about to do a friends and family round so my family can own equity in that. And then Goffman Bogart itself as an entity owns my 51% shares in each of my companies on my behalf. And then later, I'm going to take it a step further. I've been doing some research. Shout out to one of my besties, Terrell Richardson. We've been looking at Rockefeller. So once we start generating enough revenue at that caliber, then Goffman Bogart will be transferred to being owned by a trust. So now we start that Rockefeller deal where my descendants can always have access to that money. They can use that trust to buy things such as cars, houses, condos, boats, whatever. And now we'll never get hurt it'll be protected by a state tax. With some other vehicles that we include in there. So just keep passing on, just like John D. Rockefeller stuff did. And they can live off that and live like some of our other folks and just do charity and, you know, make money.
And distribute money through the foundation.
Exactly.
How important is legacy to you? Because, I mean, you're the first Black woman with a biomanufacturing company. So, like, how important is legacy to you for real?
It's so important that I'm not just doing it for me, I'm doing it for my community. So I haven't been very public about this, but I've started another company called Jackson Taylor Therapeutics. Again, that one's after my great grandmother's maternal and paternal again. And the way we setting that up is Jackson Taylor Therapeutics is an AI genomics company and drug discovery company. So what that means is we'll be soliciting folks like you and me, asking for your blood, plasma, whatever sample we want. We'll be extracting DNA from it and using that DNA information to come up with molecules or drug products that would treat our community a lot better, if treat our community at all. So if you notice, Merck, Pfizer, all those folks, we just got turned down for some money. We went after for that company because we didn't fit their mold of rare disease. But the point is, they don't think what our disease and what affects us is profitable. Now it's funny because diabetes is profitable, right? Something like that is profitable. We the ones buying this insulin and doing all this crap every day just to survive. But we're going to be doing drug work on those, creating those type of drugs to treat us better. But this is the catch, though. This is the benefit to you guys that's coming soon. We're going to pay you $1,000 up front to source those samples from you. Okay, you get that cash, and you get directly deposited into your. It's gonna be on the app. All you gotta do is hit a button. It'll directly deposit to your bank account through blockchain technology. Okay, but here's the catch. That's not it. So if we take your DNA and let's say your DNA is so great that it has something so unique that we end up using it to create a drug product, then once that drug product is approved by FDA, okay, so let me back it up for this is a little lesson. Typically, any technology you patent here in the US, you only have 21 years on that patent, okay? For us people in the drug world, by the time we get through clinical trials and all that, we typically only have 10 years left on that patent. That's how long it takes to commercialize a drug. We got a process, I ain't gonna talk about it today, that we're gonna try to do it a lot shorter like the big boys. But the point is, typically we have 10 years as an example. Okay. So that means we're gonna pay you a monthly stipend for the next 10 years. A portion of that stipend will be given to you in cash. A portion of that stipend will be put into a financial vehicle, which we just figured out that is more than likely going to be a trust. We're going to set aside a portion of the patent rights to be owned by a trust. So it will be a pool of money and it will own the patent rights. So your family will get paid from that trust for as long as it's going to be, as long as that drug is still under our patent rights for that next 10 years. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Game changer. That's how passionate I am about legacy and closing the wealth gap. I look at it like this. I was telling my friend, federal government's not finna pay us no money.
Come on now.
They don't value us. They say it, they throw it in our face every day. My mom just told me last week a little boy got shot in the back for stealing sunglasses and died. They killed this young man for some sunglasses.
Yeah.
And I won't say who said this to me, but a person, when I was talking about the story, they said, well, he shouldn't have been stealing the sunglasses. This was a black person. He shouldn't have been stealing the sunglasses. I said, don't nothing justify taking that little boy for some sunglasses. Not when they still won't show his face. The shooter that shot the teacher, that she ain't died, I think it was like a 6-year-old boy shot the teacher. Still won't show the parent's face. Still won't show his face, but I know what he looked like. That's why you ain't showing his face. Because if he looked like you and me, his face would have been plastered. They would have made sure they showed a video of him in handcuffs to make a point to ruin the little boy life. But because this little boy don't look like me and you, most likely his face not shown, and they protected him. They not even charging him. You was charging our ancestors at 5, 6 years old for stealing the thing of rice, bread.
For not having the right amount of cotton picked. You know what I'm saying?
You feel me? He ain't supposed to be out there. You don't want him here. You don't want him or her reading nothing. So I look at it like this: if we don't sit here and turn this thing around, and no celebrities, athletes, open up record stores, clothing store, disrespect. I love Nipsey Hussle. I love everything everybody's doing. Right. It is great, right? I love Ace of Spades and Deuce. All of it is great. But that does not generate wealth, and that is proven. Reason why our Caucasian counterparts have wealth is because they invested in things like infrastructure, steel mill, banking, Rockefeller with the oil back in the day. All those things, look at it. We still use it. Maybe a different company name. It is sold in hands or whatever, right? But it's still generating money. People cannot go without electricity. People cannot go without water. People cannot go without air, right? What I'm doing. People cannot go without drugs. It's always going to be something. So you need to set up some type of infrastructure and figure out how to trickle that down to Black small business. You can do it that way, right?
Right, for sure.
We building an 80,000 square feet facility in Southwest Philly. We're going to need vendors for landscaping. We're going to need cleaning the facility, whatever the case may be.
Right.
That's how you trickle that down. Same thing I just read, and I'll get on my soapbox with Tyler Perry potentially trying to buy BT.
I saw that.
Yeah, man, and the weather guy. I can't think of the weather guy's name. I can't think of his name. Bald head.
I see his face.
Right. And so I put a comment on that because somebody was like, well, I don't want them to buy it because Tyler Perry content, it's really, they were saying something sort of like it's stagnant, And mind you, he just did this dope movie, which I knew he had it in him on Netflix, called The Jasmine.
The Jasmine, yeah.
Right. Totally different concept. But I've always known he had it in him. I told everybody. But anyway, I wouldn't mind him buying BET, right? Because I know he's already proven himself that he knows how to spread the wealth. He knows how to get actors that haven't been acting in a while or that industry considers washed up as Black actors. He gave Cicely Tyson her stuff back before she died. You know what I'm saying? Like he kept her going. So somebody like that needs to buy it because I know he's gonna trickle it down to our community. Again, that's still a form of infrastructure. People ain't gonna stop watching TV. It's not happening. In fact, it's crazy. Did you know some people actually watch? This is crazy. I learned this a couple years back. I did not know that people actually watch TMZ and what was it called? World Star as their news.
100%. And the Shade Room.
Yo, I had somebody
Shade Room for sure.
A couple years back when I was still living in LA. Love her to death. That's like my sister. And she was like, "Oh, you turn on the news? I'm NBC, ABC, CNN. What you want?"
Right.
Like, nah, World Star.
Yep.
Why do you think platforms like this are so important?
But here's the thing. Imagine if World Star can transform itself in something to like a Cheddar News.
Come on.
That already got that audience, right?
Right.
Agreed.
They just pivot. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Go pivot.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question because we're gonna come back to this because it's a lot to unpack under this. You talked about you got your business experience from the music business with your degree from Full Sail. I'm from Florida, so I was like, when I saw that on your bio, I'm like, music under all of this? How did you end up at Full Sail?
Yeah, I went online, and at the time when I had got diagnosed with my chronic condition, I had to take a break. I had to figure out what's going on, figure out what medicines work, didn't work, whatever. And so at that time, I had to step away from biotech. Because at one point, we thought it was me working around the chemicals and stuff. So we had to. It took about almost 2.5, 3 years. In between it to figure out what's going on and kind of calibrate my meds. And I'm happy to say I'm no longer on the meds today. That's how good we was end up working it out over time.
Amen.
But at that time, I had jumped in the music industry because my best friend at the time worked in it. She was an assistant for Tina Davis and did a lot of work with Chris Brown artists at the time. So what was that? Joelle James, that's now a big time writer. And she still thinks a little bit. At the time, we had just brought her in, a couple of little artists that he had just brought in. And so I needed something to have credibility because they looked at me like, you just a science nerd. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're talking about. And but the crazy thing is, once I got the degree, and while working at that, even before I got the degree, my friend was trying to get her foot through the door, and I helped out. So we represented some producers, and we ended up getting a track picked up by Chris Brown. So he made some money off that in his career. He's still working in music production. He took off since then. I kind of made my little money with that and a couple other little artists we work with. And then as soon as I got cleared to go back to biotech, I ran. I was like, this is too much of a hustle with this music. You gotta fight. And it don't matter that you signed a contract and they know they supposed to cut you this check. If you don't stay on them, you may not ever see that check. Right? It get to the point where you didn't expire. You know what I'm saying?
One of the shadiest businesses in the world.
Well, I couldn't do it. So that's how I got into it. But while I was in that degree program, they taught me about marketing and PR and how to set up a business. At that time, Full Sail didn't have, I think they have a regular business degree now, but at that time they did not. All they had was the master's in business, and they were one of the only schools that was doing business online as far as a non-traditional pathway, and I was able to get it in 1 year. That's why I wanted to do it.
Gotcha.
The time other MBA programs and all that was still very traditional. 2 years, you had to be in person. And so I just needed something quick and easy to get in and get out and do what I need to do. But I can't lie, I've applied that degree along my regulatory degree in all my businesses to date. And that's how I've been able to market myself and do all the things that I do today and been successful in doing that.
Do you think some of the creativity because entertainment business takes a lot of creativity. Do you think some of the creativity that you learned in that space, you transition over to here?
Yes, it does. So even with, I was talking at a meeting. I'm always meeting on the weekend. I got to stop this. But I was at a marketing meeting I have a nonprofit too called Black Latinx Indigenous Institutes of Health on Purpose. So everybody knows it's official. And the whole purpose of it is just increasing more people of color in STEM or in research, all the stuff that I'm already doing with my companies, and workforce development. So we have a workforce development program. And one of the things we'll be piloting this fall. But one of the things I noticed with STEM and workforce development, our people, is that it's very boring. You know, y'all, the most creative we do is, I hate to say it, you know, don't get mad, Romeo Miller. I ain't talking about you, man. But the most creative we get is ICDC college.
Hey,
Hey.
Like, I don't know, was he pop locking or something? I don't know what he doing in that commercial. But the point is,
he was jigging. He
it hasn't been anything creative to attract them to that type of industry, right? So I was like, what can we do? So we getting ready to work with a marketing media firm. I won't say the name just yet, but I would just say they're a prodigy of Steve Stout in translation.
I love it.
And so we're gonna do this influencer type of social media influencer, using people that have already went through some portions of the program through another partner of mine, and let them be the voice of and speak to them where they at. You know, let them know, hey, these are the companies you can work for. This is how much money you can make. Here's the trajectory. So somebody looked at me and said, dang, I would have never thought of that. I was like, yeah, I'm not, you know, we're not going to be going to no churches or going to the schools. I'm talking about sign up and get you a job. You got to
go through the culture.
Right. You got to go through the culture and make it look cool. More importantly, let them understand, hey, this is a real opportunity, and we actually got employers already attached to it. So all you got to do is show up and do it. And then just make sure you had a wraparound support. But all of that creativity of how to put the program together and make it look appealing to my community members definitely came from Full Sail. Anything that I do, I don't know if y'all seen, I've done some animated cartoons as well as advertising. So one of them is a little Caucasian voice, and he's talking. It shows you what we do at Lucas Pi Bio. And then one of them is more detailed. I was doing a crowdfund back in 2020 with Fund Black Founders, and I had somebody create a cartoon, but it's my voice. It's me and my voice walking around giving a tour of the facility in like a cartoon setting. All that came from Full Sail.
Full Sail.
I'm trying to keep that stuff up for the community to see and be able to understand it a lot better in that format.
You don't understand how happy we are to have you on here.
I know.
Today. I'm hyped. I'm
hyped. I love stuff like this.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, back to your companies, because that makes perfect sense. The entertainment gives you the perfect access to tie in all your businesses to the culture, making it appealing to all communities, specifically Black and Brown, though. I love it. It's brilliant. You may have said this, but what is the breakdown of your two companies? The other two companies, what do they do? Because I know you have a holding company.
Yep. So financial holding company. Lucas Pi Bio is a drug manufacturing company. So what that means is we don't do no discovery work. We don't come up with the molecule. Somebody like a Merck or a Pfizer, take your pick, comes to us and say, hey, we've discovered this molecule. Can you create a manufacturing recipe around it? And can you scale it up? Scale it up means once I create the recipe, can I produce enough to support all the patients in clinical trials, and then further on to support customer demand once it's approved by FDA? So that's Lucas Pi Bio.
Okay.
Heliplex is for my life science startup. So what I was finding was, as I was going through and getting customers for Lucas Pi Bio, since our target market are the startups, right? Definitely interested in minority-owned startups, but just startups, period. And so what I learned is that they don't understand my side of the business of Lucas Pi Bio. They're very based academic, benchtop, blah, 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 blah. So they don't understand how much money it takes and what requirements they need to have completed before they pass their molecule to me to actually transform it into a drug product. So I started Heliplex. It's still in its infancy, but it's going to be a life science virtual accelerator at first. So we're actually working on building that accelerator right now with my strategic partner, Launch Bio. And we got a curriculum vendor called World Upstart. So we're working on building that plan out and raising money for that. But the purpose is they come in there on a virtual aspect and learn how to set up their business, learn how to fundraise, learn what they need from a scientific technical perspective, and learn how much money they need to actually take a drug device or software in life sciences to the commercial market. So that's that one. Then I started Jackson Taylor recently, and that was really started because my father passed this past December. So he died December 29th. We laid him to rest on the 12th, and he definitely is a victim of health disparities. Went in to the doctor before Thanksgiving. They did an endoscopy, so they're sending a scope down the heart, making sure there was no blockage. There was no blockage, but he definitely had a heart circulatory problem. So just putting on shoes And I didn't notice this until August when I had to come down. One of my best friends from high school had passed away. So I went down to Atlanta, and that's when I noticed he had trouble moving. And I brought it to the attention of my mom. So fast forward, he went to the doctor. They said nothing was wrong. We came back from Thanksgiving, and he had to go to the doctor again. And somehow he passed a stress test. So a stress test is when people that typically are diabetic or overweight, they do this to see how strong you are, your heart, your breathing, all are. And so they may have you walk or run on a treadmill. Mm-hmm. Somehow he passed, guys. I don't know how he passed if this man was having a hard time sitting down and putting on his shoes. Like putting on his shoes felt like to him like running a mile. Going up a few, 2-3 steps, you know what I'm saying, at a steep level was a lot for him.
Yeah.
And he passed. He literally took his nap, did his routine, and took his nap and just didn't wake up. So fast forward, as I'm going through trying to figure out, I didn't know that in the state of Georgia and many states that when somebody is deemed natural causes to die at home, they don't do no autopsy. You want autopsy, you got to pay. So I'm like, oh, so this shit's still going on with Black folks already, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't actually always fall victim to that because we got to work 60 million jobs. We got to deal with all this stuff, and you calling us the N-word, telling us we lazy, we not worth, especially for a Black man at 69.
Right.
Wow. Telling me a story young. He told me a story when he was a kid, a little tight, I guess probably like 8, 6, 7.
Yeah.
He was young. Going down south with his father to Greenville, Mississippi from Gary, Indiana. That's where I'm originally from. That's where he's from. And he remembered laying in the bed after Big Mama then gave him a bath and all. This is like a first experience for him down the south. And he remember laying down, but he remember seeing a dude with the sheet, KKK, looking through the window, tapping on the window, looking directly at him. Guys, he's 69. He was 69. 68 when he told me the story.
Wow.
Look how close that is.
Oh, yeah.
And we still got it. We still got them tapping on the window. They just police officers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my mama told me the story of, my mother was telling me the story when she went to her first desegregated school. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, it's a real thing. Or during his time, you know, the first Black mayor was elected, period.
Yeah,
was in Indiana when he was a kid. I mean, he's a teenager. Excuse me. He's a teenager, like in 60-something. He's in middle school on his way to high school at that time. So anyway, I started that company because I'm like, I can't take no more story. I just had an uncle. His funeral was tomorrow. My dad's uncle, it was his aunt's husband. His funeral was tomorrow. Same thing. Went to the doctor, said he was fine, sent him home, died in his sleep.
They did that. That's literally how my grandfather passed, literally.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff is right, it's preventable.
Yeah.
And so they just stuck, you know, they just check with the doctor, see what your underlying condition, they just kind of guess, right? And so on this death certificate, they put diastolic heart failure. What that means is the left ventricle, so the left side of the heart was so stiff that it couldn't hardly pump the blood to get enough blood, oxygenated blood out to the rest of his body. Right? They have treatments for this, guys, right? Now,
and that leads to clots, don't it?
Huh?
Does that lead to clots and things like that?
It just leads to the blood not getting out. So, and I already know how he's sleeping, all that. So that means when I saw him in August, he was on his way out then. It was an any day moment. It just didn't catch him until the day that they caught him.
Wow.
Because it's stiff. So the only thing you can do to it is they have these sensors they can put in to kind of help activate the heart to keep it pumping, or you get a full what you call it? With the replacement, I can't think of what it is.
Well, when you talking about replacing the whole heart?
Yeah, pacemaker.
Pacemaker.
Oh, gotcha.
But even the pacemaker doesn't support the left ventricle; it only supports the right mostly. So you have to have this extra little thing to go into the thing. Anyway, it is a possibility. It's not all the way figured out, right? But it's out there from a medical device perspective to fix it.
Right.
But because he didn't have the typical symptoms of a white person, they deemed that he just needed to lose weight. That's what they kept telling him. It don't matter how much weight he lost. It wasn't going to unstiff that left ventricle.
Right.
And he couldn't lose the weight anyway because he couldn't breathe.
So you can't exercise. So we back at one.
So I created Jackson Taylor to say, okay, we're going to start doing research and things that affect Black and brown people or indigenous people around the world. And of course, we starting with diastolic heart failure to come up with a cell therapy to get this left ventricle to be less stiff, and then also come up with this antibody to help with blood circulation out of the heart. I know it's technical, but that's what we're doing. And that's why we're sourcing DNA from select individuals that meet our criteria for research to do that work.
And then that goes back to when
And
you
so
were talking
now
about the funding.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Okay.
So now I got drug discovery with Jackson Taylor. I got the manufacturing facility with Lucas Pye. And then if I don't want to do all discoveries myself, I got the Accelerator Program I can work with and make a choice on whether or not I want to invest in them to take it further, or just advise them and still get a piece of the pie to feed them into Lucas Pye Bio or Jackson Taylor.
I just appreciate so much how
yeah.
you want to feed the people.
Yeah.
And take care of the people.
Trust me, this joint ain't easy.
I know.
It be times I be looking like, man, do I really want to keep down this road? The doors being slapped, or do I just want to go get me a 6-figure job where I left and just call it a day? And that's the easy way route. But and that ain't me doing nothing different than what Jay-Z and Diddy and all them continue to do. No disrespect, but investing in the cannabis business, especially for Jay-Z, is investing in something that you was already doing. You know what I'm saying? It's legal. So again, if you don't take what our community take hold and take control, if you're a Jay-Z and Diddy and don't push your legal team or whoever's on your team to find you some Black founders that are doing things meaningful outside of liquor, cannabis, apparel, shoes, whatever, we're never going to get ahead. And if you're waiting on the federal government, they're not coming. They demonstrate that every time something that affects us, they deem it as unnecessary and something that we can fix on our own. School loans, you ain't getting that money for that school loan. It ain't gonna never pass. And ain't gonna never pass. It's not gonna pass because it's gonna take too many Black people out of debt that their credit straight. Now that means we can go after more home loans, car loans, commercial business loans, all that stuff. They not gonna get us out of that. They don't
not only just more black upwardly mobile individuals.
Right. But then that's right. So change that from this to that.
Right. In a matter of seconds too.
Right. Same with me. That's why I gotta fight so hard for mine. But I got something for them though. They know what I'm doing, right? And that's why I keep JTT kind of on the low. Like, everybody don't know about that. We building that slow, and it started by 3 Black women, so it's not just me. It's 2 other African American women, and we're all doctors of some sort. With that, they gonna really be looking at it like, oh shit, because when Black women get involved, we put our minds to doing something. It's a wrap.
Over.
Okay.
Ain't no we trying. It's only a matter of time, and we're still actively doing it until we hit our mark. So they gonna be scared. They gonna be upset when we actually pull this off.
Hey.
Oh man.
Go
for it, Mike.
I was just gonna say, like, in this journey, in this process of just becoming, and like, like in just the hardships that you had to go through and just building what you built so far, like, what do you feel like is the biggest takeaway?
Biggest takeaway is that you gotta have perseverance and patience. Like you're gonna get way more doors closed than you will get open. But when you do get those small doors open, take advantage of it. Run, get it done, make it work. Even if it ain't, the door may not all the way, or maybe a little crack. Take that crack. That's how we got to where we at, right? Every time somebody of our ancestors, one person can read and they can, work it out where everybody can read. That's what we did. We took advantage of it.
Pull it together.
All day, and at night, you know what I'm saying? You use that time to read and get ahead, and still didn't go to sleep, and still got up, put your rags on, and got back on the field and took care of business and protect yourself, and eventually get your family to the next level. So, and I get that from my great grandfather, my mother's maternal grandfather. Got some land to this day that's still in my family down in Red Banks. Call it Victoria, Mississippi, but down in Red Bank, Mississippi, and they burnt his house down 3 times.
3 times?
Yes, because he had all this land. So the majority, if y'all know about Highway 78, from Georgia all the way through Mississippi, all the way through, good majority of Highway 78 in Red Banks was my grandfather's land. He sold it, so he's not one of the ones that had his joint taken. He ended up selling some later down in life, but we still have so much land that my grandmother's brothers that are still living and sisters that are still live on it. We literally just sold the trailer that he ended up living in the rest of his life, and that my grandmother grew up in. We just sold it, what was it, 2023? So we just sold it about 4 or 5 years ago, I believe. And it's still in good condition.
Let me ask you a brief question about your family. What's your family background like? What were your parents doing? Were they
My
entrepreneurs?
mom, yeah, my mom still works.
Okay.
She works for the Georgia Department of Labor. My dad was a car salesman all his life, so he would go back and forth, but he mostly sold luxury cars for the majority of his life. And then their parents, his mother was a nurse, his father was in construction and painting. My mother's father still living, and my dad's mother still living. She just turned 90. My mother's father still living. He's 93. He's in hospice right now, but he worked at the steel mill. So he moved from Mississippi during that whole steel mill joint back in the day. And then my grandmother, my mother's mother, was basically a homemaker, but she worked too. So she used to work in the school cafeteria. She used to work at a bakery, and things of that nature. But yeah, and they pretty much is all educated. They weren't directly educated. My grandparents, their siblings were. So we already had PhDs. One of my grandfather, my mother's paternal aunt. So her father's sister still lives down in Mississippi. They was involved in the civil rights movement. They have a school named after them. I think his name Robert. I'm looking right at him. Robert Merritt. Look up that name. But he was the first African American superintendent down in Shannon, Mississippi. For school. So they got tons of civil rights books on him, how he changed the education for Black folks down there and got them what they needed as far as school supplies, and have a large track record of graduating a lot of African Americans into to make sure they went to college. So we got a breadth of some of everybody in our family.
Very strong lineage. Very strong lineage.
Yeah. Okay. Come from a bloodline of distributors.
What?
Distribution.
Distributors and fighters, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
And creatives.
Yeah.
That's so dope. That's so dope. Well, okay, so I want to transition. I gotta check on this hat that you're wearing. So for those that can't see, it's a Bison hat. That's Howard. You know, I love HBCUs. I went to Bethune-Cookman and FAMU.
Hey,
why did you choose to become a Bison? Why did you choose to go to Howard?
You know what? I ain't gonna lie, my mama chose. At the time, I went to high school in Marietta, Georgia, at Wheeler High School, and so Wheeler is a high school known for sports. So if you know Abir Rahim, you know Amir Abir Rahim, Coach Amir Abir Rahim at Kennesaw State, changing things around. They got a nice little system, and then the younger brother that graduated with my sister, Muhammad, is a sports entertainment lawyer. So we got Coach Lipscomb, all that. We had a good track record down there. And I was going to apply to, I didn't know where I wanted to go to school. I was in AP class and stuff. I didn't care at the time. So I applied for like Emory and Georgia Tech, what was it? University of Georgia, all these little white schools.
Yeah.
I think I even applied to, no disrespect, Johnson C. Smith. I think they still open.
Yeah.
But at the time, they was the only school that I knew that was giving away laptops when you applied. So I applied for that. And then my mom was looking at, she's like, you ain't doing that. You know what I mean? She's like, we not doing that. She's like, apply to Howard. You need to go to Howard. And I had a lot of cousins that came from Howard that I just didn't know where they went. So I applied and I got in. That's how I went. And once I got in though, they didn't even accept me until like I had to be there. I think they accepted me on like a Monday, I had to be there the following Sunday or some crap like that.
That's the HBCU stuff.
Packed up that car and got up there. And then when I got to campus, I was like this. And so this at the time when Cosby was going around to different schools, talking about fans of his whole little speech or whatever. And I remember when I got to campus, I got lost. So my parents and my sister decorated my room, did all this stuff. And I ain't even see them off to say goodbye because I was just out. I had already started making friends. I was out, yo. And I had a good time at Howard. So that's gonna forever be my spot. And they just featured me too. They just featured me in the HUAA magazine or whatever it was a couple weeks ago. So yeah.
Well, how important do you think your foundation was, like going to an HBCU? Do you think that it like, I mean, you already had a strong background coming from your family, but I think my question is like, did it ground you more for like the battles that you were going to face going forward?
It did. I tell everybody, you know, all HBCUs, but especially Howard, we didn't have no take-home test. It didn't matter if you got sick. Oh, okay. Well, either you gonna come take the test and potentially get full credit, or we just gonna take 10% off the top. And the more times you miss class, the more percentage you got the top. I had a good friend of mine that he lost both his parents while we was in undergrad. He lost one our freshman year and lost the other one our senior year. You think they gave him grace on his test? It's
No.
simple. Either you're gonna take it early, you're gonna take it a day of to get full credit. You go handle your parents' funeral arrangement because he was the oldest, so he always had to handle.
Yeah.
So you go handle your parents' stuff, but if it's after this date, we still taking 10, 15, 20% off the top. That prepared me for the real world. So it didn't faze me every time I had to go through racism to deal with something. It hurt. Don't get me wrong. It was frustrating. But I've always been able to move past it. Even at Lonza, I have a lawsuit right now for the way they treated me for that year in New Hampshire. I don't play no games. I document like a 911 dispatcher. I don't play. But they
I know
don't
that's
know
right.
that whole year, all the stuff they know now.
Yeah.
But the whole year they thought I was just taking stuff and follow our line and she ain't gonna do nothing.
Came right back around.
Documented and then got a credible witness by making sure that I went to therapy. Psychologist, guess what? Who happened to be in New Hampshire, who happened to be a graduate of Howard University. Black woman.
Mic
So
drop.
real rider. I that's all I heard.
Yeah.
I feel it.
Very instrumental in my career, very instrumental in my life.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Oh, man. So outside of business, who are you?
Outside of business right now, I'm still focused on business because I took all that time, took like a month and a half to deal with my father's stuff. I'm still grieving. So outside of business right now, Tia is cool. And Tia tries to do everything she can do to de-stress. Go see a therapist. Look like today is sunny. So I'm going to actually get outside and go hiking because I tried to go hike yesterday. It was raining. So that's who Tia is. Do I like to party and do all the stuff like the rest of my people? Of course. Am I in the mood right now for it? No.
Nah, yeah.
No, I'm not dating anybody, not looking to date nobody right
No,
now.
we ain't trying to get in your business now. We ain't trying to get
I
that.
just put that out there.
Okay.
Gotta let folks know that's what it is.
No, Tia is a homebody right now that's heavily focused on build her business and that's just where I'm at. You know, I like to read. I read books. I do all types of. I love watching documentaries. That's who I am.
Same.
What's your favorite books and documentaries that you read and seen so far?
Right now, I'm reading by Teray Roberts. I'm reading Balance. Taking my time reading. It's taking me a lot of time to read it. So I'm reading that. And then as far as TV shows, I mean, I like all the little gangster stuff. So I love Godfather of Harlem. I love Power Book too.
Come on.
What else?
Raising Kanan.
Yeah.
I'm watching Accused. I watch what's it called? Rookie Feds. I watch the stupid stuff like that. Documentaries. I know a lot of people don't like watch stuff like that, but anything that's to do with African American history, I'm gonna watch it. Anything that has to do with business, I'm gonna watch it. So I watched the Theranos thing. I watched the I forgot what the fentanyl series on Hulu was, but I watched that.
Oh wow, there was a fentanyl series. I didn't even know about that.
Me neither.
It's kind of like a docudrama they did on how fentanyl was started. I don't know if it was in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, one of them. But I had read the case study during my studies for regulatory science at University of Southern California. So to see it portray on film and see what we was reading in between the lines of different life science technical documentation about what happened, FDA documentation about what happened, to see it play on screen was like super cool. So I'm a nerd.
Hey, nerds is cool. That's the best thing to be.
Hello. Nerds make good money last time I checked.
Nerds make impact.
Nerds make the world go round.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what would be something that people would be surprised to know about you?
Ooh, be surprised. Well, I thought people are always surprised about the music I listen to. So I love hip hop music. I love beats of Young Dolph.
Yeah.
Glock, Gucci Mane, Migos, Nipsey, Jay-Z, all of it. I love hip hop. I love some gangster rap. Obviously, still love. I will always be a 3 6 Mafia fan.
We just talking about
3 6
them.
Mafia before you.
Be what's my guys? A lot of Atlanta hip hop music back in the day. So I know some of my people may know about Camp and Baby D and rest of people see some of the local stuff. I still listen to. I'm still a T.I. fan all day. Outkast. So that's the stuff that people may not know. Love going to concerts. I have no problem, with cannabis. I'll say it that way. Because I know some of my people ain't gonna care for that, but I'm not I don't shun people that in the cannabis industry smoke cannabis. Again, like I said earlier, we just need more infrastructure as far as what we own to help close that wealth gap. But I'm an advocate for cannabis and more Black people getting involved in ownership of cannabis, but it just can't be the only thing that we do. So
Very true. Very true.
So for a person that wants to follow in your footsteps, what advice would you give them?
learn as much as you can. Be self-taught as much as you can. Whether you go the collegiate way or whether you go the grind, what I like to call the grind way, where you work odd jobs and teach yourself, fine. But there's nothing wrong with getting support from others. So if that means that you got to go to school full-time or part-time, if you only go to associates, fine. But you do need a base, a foundation from somebody outside of yourself and outside of who you deal with on a regular basis in your circle. Because more than likely they're going to be a reflection of you. And as you get older and wiser, the people around you are going to change. Not mean they're going to be bad or anything is going to cause harm, but you're going to want to be around other people based on where you're at in your life.
Right.
Where you're at 16 and 17 and who you hang around in is going to be drastically different of who you hang around with at 21, 22, 23. Even that short period of time is going to change if you're growing. Now, if you're not growing and you still got the people you was hanging around with at 16, 17, you know, you got to take a look at that. And it's not to say they're not good people, but they may not be helping you get to where you want to be or where you need to be per, you know, whatever the creator, I believe in God, so I'm going to say God, whatever God has already destined for you to be or destined for you to have. And even though you may not have it today, he already know you're going to get it, or he may know you're not going to get it. It's about free will. And it depends on which fork in the road you take on whether or not you're going to get it, if you get it at all, because you always have the opportunity to get it. It's about you making the right choices to go after it. No, it won't be smooth. No, you won't always make the right choices. Sometimes you got to take a detour and you still come back to where you're supposed to be. That's what my career has been. It's been very zigzaggy and choppy and up and down and different things happening. So that's what I say. Make sure that you know, be self-taught, and being self-taught doesn't mean you teach yourself everything. That also means that you seek out other folks or other entities or organizations to get you the information that you need so you get where you want to go.
You said something cool. You said your career has been choppy, and how has it been that, and what did you learn during the process? Because you kind of had to go with the flow.
I did have to go to the flow, but I had to fight. Right? So when I was working in corporate America as an employee at big pharma companies, they weren't promoting me when I wanted to be promoted. So I had to promote myself. What that mean? Well, you know, one company say, hey, you go work the graveyard shift. We make you interim supervisor. And when the time comes to roll over, we'll go ahead and give it to you. Well, they didn't tell me that when I went to grave shift that I had to create my own shift schedule, build my own team.
Nothing
come up
existed.
with a whole cleaning operation plan. I shouldn't be doing that. Wasn't even in my wheelhouse. That's a manager's job. That's a director's job. But I did it. And I did all that. And then I went back to day shift because I told them I was only going to do it for 6 months. So I did all that for 6 months, got the team running like a machine, everything in order, procedures documented, published, ready to go. And the job come down and they tell me, yeah, we can't give you the job. We got to give it to this white boy that has been in his training program for the past 3 months. And that's an obligation that he has to have a job. No, it's not. The training program said you got to interview for the job. And if he interviewed for the job and he's not qualified and I'm qualified, I should have a job. But I said, okay, that's what y'all want to do? What do you do? Go get another job and got the supervisor title off the bat.
Let's go.
Okay, then went there. Only Black person in management. This company was very unique because most of the management was Asian.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But you know how Asian men can be towards women, right? And I wasn't even out then, not yet. So then I had to deal with that. I was called out. One of my employees cussed me out in the middle of a office space with cubicles. Nothing was done to him. No consequences.
You said your employee?
My employee that reported to me cussed me out. And I was the bigger person to not cuss him out or put hands on him.
Right.
Brought him into an office. Brought in my bosses that was above me to have a conversation with him. Nothing was done. No write-up, no nothing. In fact, he ended up moving over to the next department, got a higher salary.
Where they do that at?
Okay.
Yo. Do you understand?
America.
At the fight. So every time somebody gave me a promise and they didn't deliver, Tia moved. That's stuff done to me by black bosses too. They ain't innocent. They human beings. They know who
come
they
on.
are.
I ain't say they was innocent now.
They know who they are. Violated my HIPAA rights at the time when I got diagnosed. Was forcing me to bring in my prescription medicines.
Wow.
Yeah, but I
Wow.
was young, so I didn't know nothing about HIPAA. I'm early 20s. I understand. I graduated. I graduated at 20 years old, so I didn't even turn 21 until November, the fall after I graduated. I ain't know about no HIPAA rights, and we ain't.
Right.
I'm happy to go have a drink.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So to deal with that to just be that young and then come with a chronic disease later on in life, still in my early 20s, I didn't know nothing about that. I'm just following instructions, right? I'm trying to keep my job as a black person in this majority right industry and company. Right. So I followed directions. And then it got to the point where I had to do with my parents. You know, black parents want you to come home when you get sick. So then I had to go ahead and fold because it was stressing me out. It wasn't making me no better. It was going to take me a longer process for the meds and everything that we was working on to actually work. So I had to go home. And I went home for a year. And then I moved to LA. And my parents was livid when I moved to LA because I was still on medication, still trying to get stuff calibrated. It was hot. But I stayed. When I moved to LA, I moved in with my best friend at the time. We stayed in a hotel for 2 months, hustling in the music industry before we got a spot. And then, you know, things and then me and her not friends no more. We had some fallout between us, and then we, you know, I kept it going. But there's always been dips and turns, or even now, taking that, you know, my contract ended in 2019 with Jazz because they told me I was no longer qualified for the role they contracted me to do. But you want me to teach the white lady that you was hiring permanent in my position.
Wow. This is wild.
This is out here.
So then I was like, I'm about to do my own. If I'm gonna continue this rat race, and people a guy had already stole my work. I reported it at that same job. They didn't do nothing. In fact, and he used it. He stole it, called it his. But then you tell me I'm unqualified for my job and got to teach this other person.
See, that's how they do.
Yeah. So it's always up and down, zigzags. It's gonna be twists and turns. It's about how you handle it. Either you're gonna sit there and you can cry, get out and cry sometimes. I got it out or whatever. Definitely crying a lot more with my dad being gone, but you sit there and you get it out at that time. Get it out, right? For that situation, grieving is different, but for those situations, you get it out at that time, and then you're like, okay, at some point you gotta stop crying to figure out what you're getting ready to do, because crying ain't finna get you paid. Crying ain't finna put food in your mouth. Crying ain't finna put a roof over your head. So then you got to figure out, how am I going to get around this? Do I have the stamina enough to take this?
Right.
And be okay with it? And if the answer is no, it's no. Okay, so then what is my game plan, and how long do I need before I'm ready to exit this jacked up situation?
Right.
I had to do it in Lonzo. I had moved from LA to New Hampshire for them to basically demote me on site from a manager back to a super. Why would I move across country for a lateral move?
Right.
In New Hampshire.
Right.
The African-American period in management at Lonzo at that facility at that time.
But for the people listening that don't understand and haven't been to New Hampshire got like a drop of color.
Drop of color that lives there, but a whole lot more that comes and work there.
Okay, so a drop of color that actually lives in New Hampshire.
Yeah, but they all travel from Boston. Lonzo at the time, Lonzo still is one of the major employers in New Hampshire. And so you did have a lot of people from Boston that would come. They did have most of their vendors for like landscaping, cleaning, and all that were West Indian.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay, even though I think when I got there, it was a black dude that owned it. He sold the company to a white man, but all his employees were West Indian. For some reason, they had a lot of people from Cuba and the Dominican Republic. Don't know why. And they will always mistake me. No disrespect to my people. I was the only one that would speak to them every day, dap them up, what's up, blah, blah, blah. But they will often mistake me as being a janitor. I've had people come down, and as a supervisor, you run the facility, you run the manufacturing floor, stuff like that, below the managing director. So you're the day-to-day person that run that facility and the team. Well, we would need things fixed for maintenance or whatever, and they wouldn't even shake my hand, wouldn't even acknowledge me. One person said, she's a supervisor, turned this back and kept talking to my employees. Yeah.
These folks bold.
Yeah, or they will see me. Oh, can you wipe that spill up for me?
No, I can't.
I'm in a button down, guys, khakis, and my little Cole Haan professional sneakers. That's what I got on.
Clearly not the janitor.
Clearly not the janitor.
What was your mental state during
Right.
all of this? Because I mean, this has got to be
That's why I had
trying
to
on
get
your
a
mental.
therapist. I'm about to go, I'm
Yeah.
about to go crazy. You got to think. I'm 39. At the
Right.
time, I was New Hampshire. I think I had just turned 33 in November. I started in July 2017, so I just turned 33 in November.
Wow.
So for me, up until that point, I experienced racism, but it was very passive, nothing overt per se. You just knew how to read in between the lines. Or like when they told me they couldn't hire me into that position, they didn't say white boy, but that's, I knew that's what it was. I had already saw it. So it wasn't nothing blatant or overt like that outside the person that cussed me out. But even then, he didn't say no N-word, nothing, right? But at Lonza in New Hampshire, it was overt. They even wrote it to a certain extent in my performance review that year. Does not understand the political culture or political environment that she's working in.
Excuse me?
I was gonna say, what is that supposed to mean?
Told me I didn't dress appropriately because I didn't dress feminine and wear skirts and all this. Like, this was feedback I actually got back from my manager, from the manager, from the director. Now, the crazy part is the director was an ally. So as he's telling me these things, because he wanted to be straight up with me, because he got the paper in front of him. And that's what they told him to write and told him to inform me. As he's telling me, he starts crying.
This was given down from higher ups. Got you.
So he's crying and shaking and stumbling in his voice.
Because he know it's messed up.
Because it took him a minute. We sat there for an hour. I promise you, for 20 minutes, he sat there and didn't say none to me, and tears and all that was rolling down. I'm looking at him like, what's wrong? You know me.
Yeah.
Why
are you crying?
It ain't even that serious for you to be crying. You know what I mean?
Right.
This dude. And the whole time he crying, he's like, oh, I like I had still got it to this day, an orange button down shirt. Oh, I like your orange button down. And I'm looking at him like, all right, dude, like this joint, thank you. I ironed today. Appreciate it. But what's the problem? Right? And then he started, I guess when he got himself together, that's when he started releasing information. I was just sitting there and I wanted to cry, but I refused to cry. I wouldn't let him see me cry.
Not one drop.
He gave me information. He let me go home early that day too. And he would let me go home. That's when this is before COVID. This is 2018. And he would let me work from home because he knew how bad it was. He would tell you, Tia, you can work from home. Don't worry about it unless you need to come in. He's like, I'll let you know when you need to come in. Or if you feel like coming in, cool. If you want to come in for a certain meeting and go home just so your face, fine. He gave me all the parameters because he knew what it was. Now, the crazy part is this is a redhead white boy from Virginia.
Wow. Virginia in the house.
That was an ally.
Yeah.
And had just transferred from working at Baxter. Baxter had expanded to Conyers and right outside Atlanta, Georgia. And he was down there, opened that plant, and then had got a job around about a year or so before me at Lonza for the role he was in at that time. But look at that, Virginia white boy, red hair, went to Georgia, and then now you're talking to me, and that's my ally.
Yeah. You never know where your help gonna come from.
Yeah. But I'm just. That make you want to smack somebody.
Yeah, but you can't. You got to move.
I know, exactly.
But here's the thing. When he gave me that performance review, because that was like at the end of 2017, I had just got there in July, guys. I can't leave. I ain't been there a year. How am I going to get another job? First thing they're going to ask me is, why did you only stay there for a month or 2 months and you moved from LA to New Hampshire? So I had to go through it for a year. And again, the redhead white boy is the one that cracked the door for me. Remember I told you, the door cracked, he didn't open it because he couldn't open it, but he cracked it. And then they fired him. So when they fired him and he was going to help me get promoted, you know what I'm saying? I'm still trying to make this thing work with him cracking the door. Still trying to find a way to stay and become, at least make money while I'm there.
Right.
Not that I'm making money, but making money I should have been making because of all the stuff I was doing. Because they had me doing stuff that was outside my job description simply because I knew I had the skill set and I enjoyed it, right? We always do stuff outside our job description because we have the talent to do it.
Yeah.
But they never wanted to give us the title or the pay to do it. Yeah. So he was helping me finally get that title and pay. Yeah. And right when I got close to the line, fired him. And then after that, they took me off all my projects.
Wow.
Started making me come in every day, gave me busy work. So they kept having me copy and paste, literally kept having me copy and paste the spreadsheet over and over again to the point where I just stopped doing it. So I started pissing them off. And that's when I knew I was on my way out then. So I would come in every day and read a book. at my desk.
You better center yourself. I know that's right.
At the
In
cubicle
some
like
type of way.
this. And the lady got so mad, frustrated. She said, "Well, Tia, we know you getting ready to leave, so you can just leave now, and there's no problem. I know the rules. I know I got to do an exit interview because I know I'm going to sue your ass. Excuse me.
Straight up.
For real though.
I'm gonna stay here." Then one of the HR people that was racist, and I had filed a thing against him. They want me to do the exit interview with him. So then I got him again. I ain't lying. So then I got him again. I was like, I'm not doing an exit interview with him. I filed a case with him. Why would I
Right.
complain with you?
Mm-hmm.
Then the HR investigation didn't even conclude until the last day I was there, turned in my badge. And the conclusion was inconclusive. It's your word against theirs. We didn't see anything wrong with the behaviors that you complained about. White boy didn't want to shake my hand. It felt like 5 minutes. It probably was only 30 to 60 seconds. He looked at everybody in the room like, do I really have to shake her hand? I had witnesses. Nobody told. Everybody kept quiet for that witness. For that situation. I had never experienced anything like that. Stuff you hear back in the 60s.
Right.
50s.
It's loud and prevalent still now.
Right. And the crazy part is, because this is fitting all time. So where I lived at, Lonzo's in Portsmouth is like off the water, real pretty out there.
Yeah.
But where I lived at was Manchester. So it was about like a 45 minute drive to work every day.
Mm-hmm.
But Manchester was like gentrification, but it was gentrification for white folks, y'all. Y'all gonna laugh. So I always ask people, if y'all seen this movie with John Travolta and I can't think his name, but it's called White Man's Burden. Look it up.
Okay, White Man's
Burden is totally upside down. So Black people are the elite. They own the businesses. They live in the mansions. They live in suburbia. White people live in Section 8. They the ones that are help come fix everything. Okay. I don't want to give all the storyline, but John Travolta is an HVAC technician. He's fixing the HVAC at this Black family's house. He just happened to look up, and when he looks up, the Black wife is getting out the shower. Of course, she got a window open. Of course, she's just like the lady. He loses his job. You know what happens, right? He gets called in, it's the whole thing. Well, that was Manchester, New Hampshire at the time. So I'm there as this Black person. I had just bought my Camaro, so I couldn't do nothing with that in the snow, but I had it. Summertime though, I had this Camaro. They see me going to get my haircut, blast my music, speed down. Oh, they looking at me, they hot. White people on drugs, strung out, walking down the street. Every time I had a doctor's appointment, I'm sitting there with white grandparents with their grandkids because all the white people parents had died overdose.
Wow.
So it's so crazy how the world was so flipped up to me. And I hate to say it's flipped up, but that's what it is, right? No disrespect. It was flipped upside down typically for what people stereotype us to be having problems with.
Right.
And it was still racist. I was still getting pulled over by the police. I was still all that shit. In that situation, my family, my background is completely normal.
Right.
But they still didn't like my Black ass. Excuse my language. You still pulling me over. You still causing me all these problems. And the majority of the people that worked on the manufacturing floor that I had to oversee.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but it's true. Majority bad dental hygiene. What they call trailer.
Yeah.
That's who worked under me. So they weren't going to school. They was there working. I'm over there mentoring them, how people think they typically mentor Black folks. But they still, done out of workers. People that reported to me, it was some that couldn't stand me. But it was a number that respected me, and we still in contact to this day.
That's what's up.
We mentor some of them to this day.
Okay. So you've gone through all these different transitions. Who are you now? Like, what's the future going forward? What is your ultimate goal with all these companies?
One is to close the wealth gap.
Okay.
Money to our community. So Lucas Pop Bio, we have, like I said, we already have land on reservation in Southwest. We raised $2.5 million from the state. We got endorsement from Joanna McClinton, Senator Andrew Williams, Councilwoman Jamie Gaudier, purposely putting that facility in what we call the underserved community, right? I think they called a federal, can't think of whatever zone, federal hub zone on purpose.
There's an opportunity zone.
It's different. It's federal hub. They do have some opportunity zone, but this is not a federal. It's a federal hub zone, meaning you get priority for certain projects. So for Lucas Bio, if I get it, God forbid, but they always have things going on with Department of Defense or whatever, where they're looking for a drug or a vaccine to be discovered and manufactured. I can potentially get that contract simply because of my location, me being Black owned, me being LGBTQ owned. I will get a priority for that type of project. So all of my companies will always be in those communities to make sure that my people are the one getting the jobs, and the vendors that are required to operate their business are pretty much owned by people of color or underserved community members like LGBTQ. So Tia today, and I've been like this, but I think with my father's passing and just being, I guess you say, a victim of health disparities at this point, at least known. I'm pretty sure my family has experienced before without me knowing. But I'm no longer quiet. So you may notice if I'm on LinkedIn, if anybody follow LinkedIn, I'm very active on LinkedIn. And you'll see more posts around civil rights and what Black voices and the things that we go through, and calling people out simply by post. I won't necessarily comment all the time, you know what I'm saying, but you'll see me post about it so you're aware of what's going on. Like recently with the Silicon Valley Bank and them trying to blame, this outfall in investment banking on Black founders. We ain't even getting no money. Hell, you won't even write us a check. What we the problem? So I'm very vocal about that, and I always make sure that everything I do, always have been, ties our community. But that is the goal. So since I don't have the support yet of celebrities, I plan on getting the support. I get it. My industry is very, foreign to the Black community. It's hard to understand. But what you need to understand basically is that what Tia is building a pathway for us to make medicines that treat us better, alongside of creating a pathway to close the wealth gap. That's what all it is about. Even my workforce development training program is not just training you for entry-level jobs. That's part of it. But we have a separate program for people that were like me, that were already in the industry, but just couldn't get past that ceiling. We got certifications for you. And then the beauty of it is for both, whether you entry-level or already getting to that point where you're ready to enter higher management and C-suite, well, the way that we train you is we train you to become an entrepreneur, so that you can go out and become a consultant in biotech or life sciences, or become a full-fledged venture-backed company like what I'm doing. I want more people like me. I ain't trying to be the only one. We got to have more people like me. So that's what Tia is doing. Tia is building legacy. Tia is closing a wealth gap. Tia is building a pathway for us to have some ownership and infrastructure to take our community to the next level as a whole. Right?
For people,
go ahead.
I was going to say, for people who want to apply into some of these programs, how do they access it?
We are building right now. So we're doing a fall pilot, and everything's geared towards Philly right now because that's where I'm at. Right.
Okay.
So when we get the marketing campaign together, we're ready to recruit for the fall. You guys will be the first to know for that. And then I'll always keep you informed on what we're doing with the businesses and any new updates with that. But anytime, if somebody's in the Philly area, you want to tour the manufacturing facility that we have in partnership with Jefferson University. We're about to get another facility. I can't say where just yet. We're working on it.
Building.
When I get that facility, you're more than happy to come tour that. Anything I have, you're more than happy to come tour. Just meet with me for coffee and lunch and to talk. But as we roll things out, I'll give you the dates. But
don't say that, because we'll pull up on you now.
Okay, for real.
We will.
Pull up on me.
Be done with school
I'm gonna give you my mobile number if you don't already have it. Should have been in my email, but I'll give you my mobile number after this, and I hope we stay in contact. Seriously.
We shall. We definitely shall. I definitely want to follow your career, and any way we can interact.
Where y'all based at?
Well.
Y'all can't tell. Y'all can't tell.
No, we can tell you.
Yeah, we can.
I'm in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, you right next door.
Yeah. I'm currently in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So yeah, I'm right here. I know, but I know I'm finna be back home in Atlanta.
Yeah, because Mike he's just graduating from Carnegie Mellon, so he's from Atlanta. He's gonna be back home.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So why you going home?
Opportunities, money.
All right.
So
because Atlanta entertainment is taking off.
Yeah. It is the new mecca for entertainment. It's definitely beating out Hollywood. I think it's gonna take over Hollywood, to be honest with you.
Straight up. But pretty much our operation is gonna predominate out of New York. So Mike will be going back and forth.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. I'm here. Please don't be a stranger. I like going out to different events and stuff like that. So invite me out. I like being around the culture.
Hey, I got you.
For sure. We
want it. I was in New York. I was at the what is it called? The Village.
Yeah, Greenwich.
You Greenwich
Greenwich.
Village or East Village?
I don't know. I forgot.
Okay.
But I went to the Basquiat
Okay.
exhibit. I'm a big fan of Michelle John Basquiat. So that's what I went to go see. That exhibit is in LA now for those of you that are listening. So please go see it. They've moved. But the great thing is his family doing the exhibit, all the money goes back to their estate and transitioning for all his nieces, and I think he got a couple of nephews that's gonna take over the business of his estate from his sisters.
Wow.
So a lot of history there, art, all that stuff with Jay-Z and what was that? What was that 444 and all that?
Yeah.
Like, go check out Michelle John Basquiat.
Respect.
Well, Dr. Lyles-Williams, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
What is your personal motto and your words to live by?
Live your culture, choose your cool. That is my slogan. I need to trademark it. So
You better.
It's gonna be trademarked. But that's that. And so what it means is just be yourself. If you be yourself and do you and play in the sand, correctly, then the culture is gonna be built around you, right? You already see that. Look what happened with hip hop. They couldn't stand hip hop. Hip hop was Now everything American culture is hip hop now. Or hip hop is American culture. Is no longer a separate thing, right? To the point where look at, you got the halftime shows in the NFL, you got Jay-Z involved. Like, look at all these things. You got I forgot the dude name in NASCAR, the black dude in NASCAR. You got Tiger, you got Eastside Golf, right? That's all the way hip hop, black sports and entertainment wrapped up in a golf apparel company. And shout out to Eastside Golf. I'm trying to get in contact with y'all. Y'all need to hit me back up if you're listening.
Reach out, Eastside.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I sent y'all email. Y'all ghosted me, so I'm calling y'all out. We both
don't go ghost.
You know what I'm saying? Both of us are doing something different that blacks are not typically involved. So I got a project proposal for them. But anyway, the point is, if you just do you and who you are, the culture automatically builds around you. So live your culture and choose your cool.
Respect.
Well, that's gonna wrap that for us. We appreciate you for coming on. We really appreciate it because you dropped a lot of knowledge today. I'm sure we're gonna do some follow-ups with the people that we've interviewed. So we definitely gonna follow up with Dr. Lyles-Williams so you can find out more about the companies, more about the opportunities, things she's doing. Keep tapped in because this is amazing work. Last segment, what'd you say?
Said needed work.
Absolutely.
So
the last segment of the day is the wise words from T. Hardaway. As always, I am T. Hardaway. Based on our conversation today, my wise words is this: you can't wait on change. You have to be the change you want to see in the world. Anything you want is not just going to come to you, so you better get up and go get it, or otherwise you won't have it. Again, my name is T. Hardaway.
And I'm Michael Bahsil.
And we are the Did It for the Hood podcast. See y'all next week, baby.